Go Mustang, the Coach Alexander Show, brought to you by Kim Assad, your real estate broker.
Hello, Mustang Nation. Matt Carnes, Grapevine Booster here for Week 7 of the Coach Mike Alexander Show with your head coach of the Grapevine Mustangs, Mike Alexander. Coach had a wet start to the game on Friday night over Pennington Field, and after a little bit of a slow start, you still wound up with a 21-0 lead after the first quarter, and of course it carried on to there to a 56-7 win. Tell us about Friday night.
Well, like you said, we avoided the rain, once the game got started, and started off a little slow offensively. Had a 90-yard touchdown run called back, but had to punt on our first series. But then, got going defensively. I don't think we gave up first down there in the first quarter, which helped the offense, get going a little bit. But it was a good homecoming for everybody involved. Student body showed out real big. I mean, we had a great showing with student body there.
Great crowd.
They came and that was exciting for our kids, to come out of the locker room and to see all those guys there. And they had a good time. Our boys were able to put on a good show, and I think it's what we executed our job, which was to win homecoming and let everybody have a good time.
It was definitely Mustang football for sure. It was high speed, high paced, and defense, of course, did their usual swarm tackling and the whole 9 yards. So you're 6-1 now. You're 3-1 for the in the district.
Mm-hmm.
Got a big week coming up. We'll get into that in a little while. But before we get to the specifics of Friday night's game, let's talk about the sub-varsities this week. How did our subs do?
Oh, they did great. We had an interesting night. Carrollton, Newman Smith, they couldn't play over there. So typically, when we're playing at home, our JV would go over there to their place, but they couldn't do that. So we had to play 2 games at CTMS and 2 games at GMS to get it done. But all 4 of our teams got to play. We were 3-1 on the night. Everybody won except for I think it was the JV, JV blue team. They took a tough one against Lake Highlands, and I think Lake Highlands brought a ringer. They had a good running back on that JV blue team, man, and we started off strong, and then next thing we know, they got a kid back there playing running back that Coach Holland looked up his 100-meter time last year. He ran like a 10.9 100 meters. So he was really fast, and it gave our kids some problems. But they fought hard and got to play. And but on the night, to go 3-1 on homecoming, and everybody get a chance to play a lot. That's a win.
Well, I did happen to make both JV games, and that Lake Highlands team looked like they could have played a varsity game on the drop of a hat. So
right.
they were big. That was a big team. So. Subs are doing well. We're moving in now to big week with Heritage, but let's go through the highlights here this week against Newman Smith over Pennington Field. We'll go through the highlights, of course. Your defense is just a spotter's nightmare because you can never tell which jersey hit first, and then they all pile on top of the guy. So which guy gets the credit for these tackles?
Yeah, that they were trying to read Nick Glover there, and he did his job, was patient, made a play, and then here we are bringing Tim Drysdale off the edge, and that's been good for us lately. We'll probably continue to do that some. We just kind of mixed up bringing Tim off the edge, and then Mason shook his son too. That's a nice play by Jackson Shadle. Unfortunately, he tweaked his knee a little bit there and had to be helped off the field. We're hoping he'll be able to play on Friday. But all night long, our defensive guys got lined up quickly. They executed the plan. And just swarmed the ball. We didn't miss a ton of tackles, which is something in a game where we had the advantage against the other team. You just you don't want to see your guys play sloppy, and they didn't for the most part. I think they were. We didn't have many missed tackles. We hit all of our defensive goals. It was just an overall really good night. And obviously Newman Smith's execution wasn't what they had hoped it would be at times throughout the night, but our defensive guys were able to do our job, do our thing, and capitalize when we needed to and get the ball to the offense. And there you go, just a ton of gang tackling. This is we're able to play a bunch of guys, which is great. You know, in a game like that, we moved up another sophomore from the JV to come up and play for us, and Garrett Johnson. He got a lot of reps and got some experience playing behind Tim Drysdale. So, you know, there were a lot of good positives that came from the game plan defensively.
And you got Kate Keeling.
Yeah,
he got some
sure.
reps for
yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
So the defense had a great night, and offensively, you actually had an even night. You had 202 yards on the ground and 242 passing, so it was a well split night there too.
Yeah, it was, and you know, it was good to see the offense, you know, run effectively and efficiently. You know, even without David Clayton was, you know, a little bit banged up. We were trying to protect him, and he didn't play at all the second half, but you know, he did have a 90-yard touchdown run called back, but you know, we just decided, you know, the nature of the game, we weren't going to force it, and he ended up, you know, didn't have a catch for the first time since I can remember, but
wow.
Yeah, but he was a huge part of the plan going in. You know, we ran the ball with him on some outside run game but the rest of the team just stepped up, and you know, Vergara had a big night, Jack Ertz had a big night, Seth Teota caught another touchdown pass, and Roshan was deadly on the screen game. So
yeah, he was.
It was, you know, it was a good night all around for the offense.
Well, seasonally, you look at where you are for the season. I think if somebody would have said Cade's going to have 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, be completing 61% of his passes, and you're going to have 8 guys with significant yardage, you'd have probably been pretty happy to hear that at this point of the year.
There's no doubt, and you know, credit to our offensive staff for developing depth, you know, and spreading the ball around, because you know, that was one of the things in our postseason eval last year, coming out of last season, that, you know, I knew that we had to develop more depth at the receiver position. If we're going to throw it as many times as we do, we're going to have to do that. And so the way we have it structured, you know, if Jack Ertz, you know, catches a long pass, gets tackled, or runs a long route and doesn't get the football, then we have a design where he can just jog off the sideline, roll in our next Y, and we just keep playing and don't worry about, you know, who has to be on the field. And what it's done is it's allowed those guys, when they run routes, they're running full speed. And you know, you watch some people on video that are playing the same 4 kids all game long, and as the game goes on, you think, man, that kid looks tired, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, a tired receiver is not going to run routes as fast. He's not going to get open. So that's been the benefit of Coach Smith and the offensive staff in developing that depth.
Well, it's sure been fun to watch, and it's got to be a defensive coordinator's nightmare when they come up against you.
Tell me about it. We go against them every day in practice.
Probably have a pretty good handle on it then.
I mean, you know, but you know, that's the beautiful thing about for our defense is, you know, when you're getting ready and getting prepared to play a Heritage, you know, or Birdville or a Denton Ryan, or you know, the better teams on our schedule. You don't wonder as a coach how are our guys going to respond to the athleticism of the other team, because I mean, we see it every day in practice. We have to tackle Roshan, and we have to run with David and Seth and Jack, and you know, it's not an easy task. And so our kids are defensively, you know, they know what they're up against when they play good talent.
Well, it's time to move on to Heritage Week. You have the 3 big games. Of course, you've got Heritage, Denton Ryan, and then Carrollton Turner to finish out the season. But first things first, you got Colleyville Heritage, and of course it's the crosstown rival. What, as a head coach, do you have to do to keep things in check and get them ready for this one?
Well, you know, I talked to the guys this morning in our team meeting, and you know, I just told them, kind of like homecoming, our job's to win. You know, that's our job. Now, in the process of all that, there's going to be a lot of hoopla on campus, and I mean, I think it's dress up day every day this week, and I said, go enjoy that stuff, but understand that, you know, your job here is to win the game and to show up every day to practice and prepare to win. Study video like you always do. You can't get out of your routine just because it's it's a game like this, and I don't think we'll have an issue with our kids. They're, you know, the good news about it is, as a coach, is you don't have to lock your kids in every day of practice. You know, sometimes week to week when the season gets long, you have those days at practice where you can tell maybe they're not as locked in as they normally are. But a week like this, and those kids are hanging on every word you say as a coach, and they just want to know the plan. They want to know how we're going to adjust. They want to know everything, and that's a good place to be for an athlete. And we're excited about it. You know, I mean, heck, this is what's right about high school athletics. These rival weeks.
Well, it's going to be a fun week. You'll have the sub-varsities, of course, on Thursday night. And then we got Breakfast of Champions Friday morning, 7:15 sharp, bringing up for the coaches and the players. It's a great time. We had Coach Lineweaver, a multi-time state championship coach last week, speak to us, and that was great to hear. Anything else you want to add before?
You know, I'll say this about Breakfast with Champions. I had a faculty member text me this morning and ask, you know, who can come to this? So I'll just say this. If you're a man in our community and you can be a father of a player or just a man in the community that has a heart for encouraging our players, come on, because it's good fellowship, and it's good fellowship. You're going to hear a good message every Friday morning, and bigger than that, you know, we want men in our community to stand next to our boys and let them know that you're behind them and that they have somebody else in their corner other than maybe their coach or their teacher or maybe their dad. So just, if you're a man in the community and you want to take part, come on, bring a little breakfast and come on into the varsity locker room on Friday morning at 7:15. We'll have a great time.
I've had a few mornings it's been tough to get there, but I've never regretted it. I can promise you that. So it's well worth the time, and I would really love to see more men get to be a part of that. So that's Friday morning, 7:15. We hope to see you there. 7 o'clock, Dragon Stadium, Friday night. Anything else you want to add about the game, or?
I mean, it'll be exciting. You know, I think we'll have a good crowd. We're gonna have great weather. Get there early, be loud, yell for the Mustangs.
Let's go Mustangs. We'll see you there 7 o'clock Friday night at Dragon Stadium.
Go Mustang. The Coach Alexander Show, brought to you by Kim Assad, your real estate broker.